Hello, welcome back to episode 4 of my NBA 2K22 Toronto Raptors MyGM series. I'm gonna be honest, we were pretty deep in trade talks with a number of teams, and I just sort of hung up the phone for the time being. Listen, I don't know if we have a big enough sample size in order to trade our best players right now, so I reckon we kind of monitor how we start the regular season, and then we can scope out what our best option actually is. Jumping into the first game of the season against the Washington Wizards, we're going up against one of the league's top scorers in Bradley Beal. I think our best bet for tonight is to just chuck OG Anunoby on him and hope for the best, but that's about all I can really think of for the game plan. Nothing's really changed from our side in terms of injuries. Pascal Siakam is still out with that torn left labrum, but on the Wizards side of things, Thomas Bryant is out for another 2 to 3 months due to his torn ACL from last season. Alright, let's get into the game. So our very first bucket is from a Scotty Barnes 3, which he got sagged off big time, and he's not like Ben Simmons, he'll pull the trigger on that. We're still working on his shot, but you know, it is what it is. Chris Boucher gets the sneaky block there, and Scotty Barnes makes the outlet pass up to Fred VanVleet, who trails off for that 3. It was a really good play at the end of the day. The only problem with Chris Boucher is if big bodies get the inside advantage, they can usually finish over him because he's a bit smaller. There, OG Anunoby hits a 3, and I think him taking that next offensive step is going to be a big deal this season, and if he's doing that, I mean, we're on a good path. Now Bradley Beal, he went on a scoring rampage this game, and we just looked confused guarding him on some possessions, and he just made such good shots all game, even if they were contested, and he ended up with 25 at halftime. We couldn't really do anything about that, like, we tried our best, but containing him was a bit of a struggle. Now OG actually manages to use his height and size to get a huge advantage on Dinwiddie and end up scoring this tough bucket. And Scotty Barnes putting on the hustle, he doesn't get the assist here, but just making that play. He couldn't take the 3, he was getting closed out on, so he makes the quick pass to Yuta Watanabe, and even on this possession he makes a decent play. He could have swung it to the corner to Gary Trent, but it is what it is. Precious actually had a really good game himself, but I think what led us to have a little comeback here is our defensive effort, and that just turned straight into offense. We end up taking a 6-point lead here with back-to-back 3s, one from OG and one from Fred VanVleet. There was that sneaky block from Chris Boucher, and then Fred VanVleet stops and pops with that one. So when Bradley Beal came back into the game, we ended up getting outscored. I mean, OG Anunoby has a little highlight play of his own here, breaking the ankles of Kyle Kuzma, but he just misses that. I was trying to go in for a layup, but he messed that up, and Bradley Beal kind of takes advantage. We scramble back on defense. We don't know how that happened. But yeah, look, it might have looked like a bit of a charge, but he pulls up for the mid-range, doesn't go in for the layup, and absolutely clonks it. Kuzma gets the rebound. But offensive rebounds, man, this is haunting us every single game. We defend that well. Bradley Beal gets the rebound, sends it back out. He ends up taking another shot here, misses that, but Daniel Gafford comes in, grabs the board, and just drops it straight in. And that's the story of the game once again. We lose in offensive rebounds. We had a nice little alley-oop play, but we're already down by like 20 at this point, so it didn't really matter too much. You know, the final score, 123 to 107. Not happy at all. I think one of our biggest problems is not having that traditional center on the team, like I've talked about before, and I don't know how we're going to counter it with the current roster we have, which is why I think making a trade is going to be pretty important. Anyways, Fred VanVleet 23 points, OG with 20 himself, Scotty with 16, 8 and 5, and Precious with 16 and 13. Chris Boucher had one of the weirdest stat lines I've seen in a while, but you know, you can look at that and decide that for yourself. Bradley Beal had 45 points, Dinwiddie with 27 and 11. Daniel Gafford was the player of the game with 16, 11, 7 steals and 3 blocks. He absolutely killed us, and look, at the end of the day we suffered the exact same issues that we saw in preseason, so I decided to simulate a bit more just to confirm my theory. We simulate forward to the start of December, and that's when our team starts struggling big time. By the end of the simulation period, we end up as the second worst team in the Eastern Conference. It's just kind of disappointing, you know. Our core is clearly having big problems with competing, and like I said, I think that comes down to a lack of an inside presence, paired with our downgraded scoring potential with the departure of Kyle Lowry. To make matters worse, we are failing in the advanced stats as well, 108 points per game, which is 3rd worst in the league, 117.2 points allowed per game, which is the 4th most points allowed every game. And if that wasn't enough, we are last in point differential, meaning we're losing by the most amount of points each game. Scotty Barnes has been performing extremely well, posting averages of 15, 6, and 4. His shooting is a bit all over the shop, but we're working on that with our shot doctor in Mike Adams. I can picture him taking over the power forward role full time, which means it's a bit hard to work out a consistent rotation unless Siakam is running center, which it honestly doesn't work. And that's why we're going to be basing a trade around the departure of Pascal Siakam, still trying to bring in one of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Markelle Fultz. We need to look for the right suitor. Obviously the Thunder and the Magic aren't in a position to compete, and they won't really be looking for someone like Siakam to join their squad. So this will pretty much also open up the discussion to bring in a traditional big man who can block shots and get rebounds, maybe someone like Miles Turner or Jonas Valanciunas who can reliably space the floor as well. Now, to make matters worse around this trade situation, we've had 2 trade requests from 2 of our players. Both Svi Mikhailuk and Malachi Flynn have both requested a trade through social media. I mean, there's not really much we can do, but I guess we have to include them in the deal now and hopefully send them to somewhere where they'll be happy. Regardless, with our 6 win and 14 losses tallied up on the season so far, hopefully this trade can push ourselves back into playoff contention.